What's going on, YouTube world? My name is Ghiman Mckinney. Appreciate you guys for tuning into the channel today. Be sure to like this video right now if you're rocking with me. Subscribe to the channel if you are new as well. I do post a ton of great sports videos like this weekly and almost every single day if I can. All right, getting right to things. I'm going to preview the Washington Huskies 2019-2020 football schedule and give a record prediction for the Washington Huskies in 2019-2020. I'm going to go game by game. I'm going to break down their schedule and see where I can find some wins and losses on their schedule. I'm going to see what Washington's record will be and if they can indeed continue to compete for Pac-12 titles. Okay, but obviously we're going to recap what they did a little bit last year. Last year didn't have a terrible year. I mean, you were a top 10 team pretty much most of the year. You did finish the season at the end of the year 10-4. In the regular season, you did lose to Auburn. I mean, I don't know what you were doing in that game, honestly. I mean, Auburn's the 6th best SEC team last year. You can't even beat that team. I mean, is the Pac-12 even a conference anymore? I don't know, but hey, Washington, you somehow found a way to lose that game. But then you also lose to Oregon in overtime. No shame in that. But then you lose to Cal. You lose to Cal 12-10. I mean, that's just terrible. I mean, Cal has no offense. I mean, really, your offense all year wasn't it. I mean, you struggled to score points all year. But then, obviously, you do still win the Pac-12. You beat Utah, I believe, 10-3 in that game. I mean, how bad is Utah? Man, they can't even score over 3 points. I mean, you know how hard it is to not score over 10 points in a college football game? I mean, that's just bad. And then you go to the Rose Bowl, obviously, and get that work versus my Ohio State Buckeyes, baby. But, you know, getting to the Rose Bowl was a pretty good year. But honestly, if you ask some Washington fans, I think they're a little bit disappointed from last year. I honestly thought Washington would have been a little bit better last year. I thought their offense would be a little bit better. I thought that I didn't pick them to make the playoffs last year, but I thought they could potentially compete for a college football playoff spot. I never got the sense that they were fully competing for that spot last year. Can they do it this year? Well, we'll see. Let's see who you bring back and who you lose. You return 7 starters on offense, but you only return 2 starters on defense this year. Man, I mean, this Washington Huskies defense was the heart and soul of your team last year. I mean, you had Byron Murphy, you had what's his name, Taylor Rapp. They're 2 really good NFL players. I think they're going to do some special things in the NFL. You lose a lot of talent on defense. Can Chris Peterson and this Washington Huskies coaching staff be able to overcome so many losses on defense? Because let's be real, you pretty much lose your whole defense from last year if you're only returning 2 starters on defense. It's not very good. But hey, you know, Chris Peterson, I like him as a head coach. He continues to get the best out of the recruits he gets. I like him. They can potentially do that. But you also do lose Jake Browning. I mean, it seems like he was at Washington forever. I thought Jake Browning was a decent quarterback. I also thought the playbook was a little bit limited with him. I thought that he's not the most talented guy in the world. He's a very good quarterback as far as college goes. I mean, he knew the playbook, he knew the offense, but never really got the sense he was an elite quarterback. You also do lose Myles Gaskins and Caleb McRae from last year. So, you know, you got some parts to lose, but hey, you know, you bring in a new quarterback this year, and Jacob Eason. Jacob Eason had a decent year his first year at UGA. Obviously got beat out by Jake Fromm. Did get hurt. So can Jacob Eason lead this Washington team to another Pac-12 title? Now, I think he potentially can. I really do. I like Jacob Eason. I think he's very, very talented. I think he'll thrive in this offense. And they're going to need him to do very well if they're going to have any success this year. Washington is. But let's get right to it. You start off the first 4 games with Eastern Washington. You start off with Cal. Then you got Hawaii. And then you're at BYU. I actually think you start off 4-0. I really do. You're going to be 4-0 after those 4 games. Look, your schedule's very favorable this year. You had the potential, Washington, to make the college football playoffs this year. I really do believe that. I'm not just saying that just because I want you guys to feel good. I'm saying this. I'm being realistic. Your schedule allows you to make the college football playoffs. It's not unrealistic. You can't go 12-0 with this schedule. Okay, but looking at some things on Eastern Washington, not necessarily a great team. I think you'll easily win that game. Cal did beat you last year, but let's be real. That was an upset win. They only scored 12 points in that win. I think you'll do good enough. I think Jacob Eason does enough in this game. You get both those teams at home. You'll win the game. Hawaii at home, that's an easy win. I mean, the only player I know from Hawaii is Tua Tagovailoa. You'll win that game pretty easily. And then at BYU, now obviously this is not a game you should overlook. BYU is never an elite program, I would say, but they never have an absolutely god-awful year, okay? BYU is usually going to be a good team. They're going to be a decent team. They're going to compete. They're not just going to lay down to some of these teams. It's going to probably be their biggest game of the year this year. They'll be hyped for this game, but I think Jacob Eason, this offense is a little bit too talented for this team. I think it's the first true road game for those new defenders that you're gonna have. But I do think Washington's the better team. I think you'll win that game, but don't sleep on that BYU game because you probably slept on Cal last year, and you got beat, okay? But either way, you win that game. Another game on the schedule I did forget to mention was the USC game. You play USC at home. I think you'll win that game. USC actually, to me, in my humble opinion, they have more talent on their roster than you, okay? But USC, they're the classic team that does less with a whole lot, okay? What I mean by that is they have a boatload of talent on that roster, but they don't do anything with it. They don't win any big games. I mean, Clay Helton, I mean, the guy's over his head. Will Urban Meyer coach this team next year? I don't even know. If he doesn't make a bowl game this coming year, like he missed the bowl. USC didn't make a bowl game last year, okay? That's embarrassing. That's sad. That's terrible for the amount of talent on that roster. I just think at Washington, you're a more experienced team than them. They're a very young team. JT Daniels is a pretty good quarterback, in my opinion, but I just think you're a better team than USC this year, and they always disappoint people. You get them at home. If it was on the road, I'd potentially pick USC, but I think you beat them at home this year. I think you win that game versus USC. You're 5-0 after that game. Then this brings me to the next 4 games. At Stanford, at Arizona, Oregon at home, and then you got Utah at home as well. I actually think you go 3-1 in the stretch. You potentially could go 4-0 in the stretch, and I'll explain why. I think the one loss you'll catch in these 4 games is at Stanford, okay? I actually think you'll beat Oregon this year, but let's get into why I say this. Look, Stanford loses a lot this year. I get it, but you also do lose a lot. You only return a couple stars on offense. You barely return anyone on defense. I mean, it's a tough place to play at Stanford. If you were in Washington, I would pick you. It was a very competitive game at Washington last year. I think you only beat Stanford by 4 points last year, if I'm not correct. And while they do lose a lot of talent, they do lose J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, they do lose Bryce Love and some of those players. They have Walker Little on that D-line, on that offensive line. I just think that's a tough place to play, and I think you catch your first loss here. Look, this Washington team is going to be very good, but as far as bringing out the talent, Washington's not one of those teams that's loaded with 5-star and 4-star players. Look, you have some decent recruits, but look, are you better than Stanford? Yes, but it's hard to go undefeated in a college football season. I see you taking a tough loss at Stanford. I think David Shaw is a very good coach. I think that's where you catch your first loss. I think it's a little bit of a transition year for Stanford, but it's going to be one of their biggest games of the year that you'll win. They'll win that game. They'll beat you. At Arizona, not a very good team last year. They're a decent team, but not anywhere near elite. You'll win that game coming off a loss. Oregon at home, probably your biggest game of the year. I think you actually beat the Oregon Ducks. I think Oregon's a better team than you, but you get them at home. Okay, you got an experienced quarterback. They beat you last year. You're going to be up for that game. You're going to be emotional. And I think you beat Oregon this year. I really do. Look, is Oregon more talented than you? Yes, but I get a good quarterback. I think by that time your defense will start to get some chemistry. And look, I think Jacob Eason outduels Justin Herbert just barely. Look, Oregon's very talented, but they did lose their top wide receiver from last year. That's very key. But I just think, look, you get him at home, I think you'll win this game. If it was in Oregon, I'd pick Oregon. But I think I'm going to pick Washington this year. I think that Washington wins this game barely. It's going to be one of the best games all year. I really do think that. Okay, but look, you'll beat Utah at home. Utah was a top 20 team all year, pretty much last year. But they're just a decent team. They're nothing you can beat. You beat them last year. You'll beat them again this year. Okay, so this brings me to your last 3 games of the year. Okay, can you finish the season with only 1 loss? I don't see it. I think you'll lose the game at Colorado. I really do. Look, I think you'll beat Oregon State. Oregon State, look, my Ohio State Buckeyes are still scoring points on Oregon State from last year. They are an absolutely terrible team. They're one of the worst Power 5 teams out there. You'll win that game pretty easily. You'll beat Washington State. I think Washington State loses a lot of players, and you were able to beat them on the road last year. There's no reason you can't beat them at home this year. I think you'll win that game. But I think you catch a loss at Colorado. I really do. Look, I get it. The record was not very good last year. I understand that, but it's not that they're not a good team, okay? Look, just because you have a bad record doesn't mean you're not devoid of talent. USC, they didn't even reach a bowl game last year. There's a lot of talent on that team, okay? Look, Colorado, look, it's a tough place to play. If it was in Washington, I would pick you guys to win that game. I just think Colorado's going to be improved this year. I really do. They were in a lot of games last year. They competed in most of the games they played. Okay, they didn't get blown out in a whole lot of games. They're a competitive team. It's hard for a team to go on the run. Look, sometimes you just can't explain upsets in college football. I don't understand how my Buckeyes lost to Purdue by 1,000,000 points. I don't understand how Syracuse beat Clemson a couple years ago. I don't understand how Old Dominion beat Virginia Tech this past year. It's just some things where you just can't explain in college football. And look, it's hard to lose only 1 game in college football. And Washington, to me, just doesn't have the players. They don't have you guys don't have the 5-star and 4-star talent out there to just go out there and dominate each week. It's going to be a grind. You're going to need to play pretty good each week. Jacob Eason, I think he's going to be very good. We haven't seen him for a full season, like I said. I mean, Laviska Shenault, he's a very good wide receiver. He's going to play in the NFL one day. I think he might have a field day on defense. I expect him to have a big game. I think Colorado beats you. I just think it's a tough place to play, and it's hard to lose only one game on a regular season. I mean, I just think that Colorado upsets you in that game. But hey, you know, 10-2. 10-2 at the end of the year. I could potentially see 12-0. I really do. But I just don't think with all the players you lost on defense, with all that talent you lost, you only returned a couple stars on offense, I don't see you going undefeated. I could potentially see one loss. Now, if you beat Oregon and beat everyone else on your schedule, you have a chance to make the college football playoffs. I really do think that, but I think you'll catch another loss somewhere along the road, whether it be USC, whether it be at Stanford. Like I said, I have you losing to Stanford, whether it be at BYU. It could be Oregon at home. It could be Arizona on the road. We don't know, okay? Could you be looking ahead to that Oregon game and lose at Arizona? Yes. I mean, you lost to Cal last year. I mean, it's not out of the question, but I get a pretty good quarterback in what's his name, Jacob Eason. I get a well-coached team. I get a very good head coach in Chris Peterson. I just think Washington finishes the season once again winning 10 games and competing for a Pac-12 title. You might win the Pac-12 this year. I don't know, but hey, we'll see. That's a wrap for this video. Washington fans, tell me if I'm right. Tell me where I'm wrong. How many wins do you see you guys finishing with? How many losses do you guys see your team finishing with? Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. All that good stuff is my favorite thing in the world to do to make these YouTube videos for you guys. I appreciate you guys for tuning in today. It's been your boy Ghiman Mckinney. I'm potentially looking to go into big-time networks, potentially ESPN, Fox Sports 1, a big-time network one day. When I get older, I'm heading to college in a month or two. So just help me grow this channel. Tell your friends about this channel. The best thing you guys can do to help me grow this channel is to tell people about my channel, The Juice Alert. I cover NFL, I cover college football, NBA, college basketball, MLB, all that good stuff. So just get people hit to my channel and help my channel grow. It's been your boy Ghiman Mckinney. Thank you guys for tuning in today. God bless, and I'm out.